Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're listening to Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
So on today's episode of Eating W's, we have our weekly off-season recap. Now, again, just like last week, kind of a down week, a little bit of the calm before the storm with the draft being next week, so very, very excited for that. So not a ton of news, so keep watching till the end of this episode where we give you some 2022 NFL Draft hot takes, which are just kind of opinions that aren't quite reaches per se, but are just kind of big thoughts, we'll call them for now. Just, you kind of know what I'm saying, yeah. So now we'll jump right into the news. So starting with the extensions or re-signs, the Cardinals retained wide receiver A.J. Green to a one-year deal, and the Browns signed corner Denzel Ward to a 5-year, $100.5 million deal, which makes him the highest paid corner in the NFL and gives him over $71 million in guaranteed money. Now, he's a 2018 guy, so he's only like 24, 25, and he's, in my opinion at least, one of the best corners in the league. He's so fast, he's great in man coverage, so I love this extension for them. I think the Browns got themselves a beast, and they want to keep him, which of course, because it's a passing league nowadays, so you got to have some lockdown corners, so it's good to keep one like that.
Yeah, that's all. That same draft, they got Denzel Ward and Nick Chubb.
Yep.
And Nick Chubb signed his extension just before training camp last year, and now this year they got to Denzel Ward. And I think next in line for the cornerbacks is Jaire Alexander, who's going to get a big extension and probably take over that spot of highest paid corner.
I would not be surprised at all. Jaire Alexander is scary.
Mm-hmm.
But the Browns are getting all their young studs on long-term deals, so it's good to see that. And then there was no big cuts and no big trades, so we'll just jump straight into the signings. The Lions signed former Ravens safety Deshaun Elliott to a one-year deal, which is another young guy and a really good pickup for them. I think the Lions have been very much steadily improving, and I don't think they're going to be a playoff team by any means, but I think they're going to be a lot better than people are expecting this season. And then staying in the NFC North, I should say, the Packers signed another former Ravens wide receiver, Sammy Watkins, to a one-year deal worth $4 million. What do you think of that signing?
I think that they had to go sign someone. I don't know if Sammy Watkins was the guy that I was expecting. The one thing that is the connection there is that our wide receiver coach, Jason Vrabel, was the offensive quality control coach for the Buffalo Bills when they drafted Sammy Watkins at number 4 overall. So there is a little bit of familiarity there. So I guess that's nice, but I mean, there's a reason that he's called Hammy Watkins. And that hamstring just always seems to act up on him.
That poor guy cannot stay healthy. But it's kind of a running meme in the NFL. Week 1 Sammy Watkins is a different breed. This guy comes out, I think it's been 3 or 4 years in a row, and just absolutely balls out on week 1. Like, I'm talking averages over 150 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and then never can recreate it. And if you look back to last year, your guys' week 1 wasn't too hot, so maybe he'll balance you out week 1 a little bit.
Right? Yeah.
We'll have to see. I think it's a good sign-in to get any receiver for them pre-draft, because I do still truly think they'll go 2 wide receivers in the first round. But if they don't, this is at least somebody to fill in for them. So, the Colts signed cornerback Stephon Gilmore to a 2-year, $23 million deal. They, of course, just traded away Rock Ya-Sin recently to get Yannick Ngakoue from the Raiders. So they're filling in that hole there with a aging corner, but still a lockdown guy. Stephon Gilmore is by no means a bad corner.
He's just a few years removed from being Defensive Player of the Year.
Exactly, 2019 I believe was on that. So yeah,
that's a hell of a pickup for him.
Great pickup for them. And then finally, moving it back to the NFC North, the Bears signed James O'Shaughnessy to a one-year deal, who was a former Jaguars tight end. So a little bit of a depth pickup there with guys like Cole Kmet. And that is it for the news. Like I said, kind of barren in the news front. But so now we're going to jump into some NFL draft hot takes. So I guess I'll start first. And my first take is that the Jacksonville Jaguars will not make the first overall pick. They just made that first overall pick last year. There is no obvious top guy this year like there was last year. And to be honest, I'm not saying the Jacksonville Jaguars are a well-rounded roster by any means when I say this, but they have no glaring need. They have a lot of needs, but they don't have something that's like, oh my god, we need to fill this in right now. So I think that they move back however many picks. My vote is maybe the Texans jump up in front of the Lions and try to get somebody, or maybe somebody else in the top 10 jumps up. But I think someone else jumps up and the Jaguars move back and try to get some more picks and still get a stud player somewhere early in that first round. But I don't think they make a first pick for the second year in a row.
No, that's a very good possibility. They're trying to really rebuild that team since they kind of really went into disaster mode last year. And by doing that is to gain as much draft capital as possible. So trading out of that first slot, they'll gain some extra picks. And as far as I know, they haven't had any offers for the first pick, but that doesn't mean that on draft night that someone doesn't.
I was gonna say
one phone call.
My prediction is it would actually be on draft night. I don't think it happens before. So Callan, what is your first hot take?
My first hot take is that 2 running backs will be drafted in the first round, and that will be the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I think that they will select Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker respectively. Breece Hall obviously fits with Buffalo. We've gone over that before in past shows. And I think that Kenneth Walker will step in and be a solid backup to Derrick Henry. Especially with the foot injury. Foot injuries on running backs really linger. So I think they could surprise some people, and Tennessee could draft a running back first round. Kenneth Walker fits their mold.
Yeah, I'm not going to say he's going to come in and do as well as Derrick Henry, even after Derrick Henry inevitably leaves or retires, however many years that is down the road. But I'm a big Kenneth Walker guy. I think he could fill those shoes well in X amount of years, and of course, like you said, be a very solid backup. Mm-hmm. I like that. So moving on to my second hot take, I got that 2 quarterbacks will go in the top 10 of the first round. Now, these 2 quarterbacks will probably be Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett, of course. And there's a couple teams that you could see there going in the first round. Of course, starting with the Panthers at 6. I could see the Falcons at 7 and the Seahawks at 9, of course. Those are probably about the only 3 real possibility slots, but that's 3 slots that could very easily go quarterback. So I'm not going to try to predict exactly anywhere, but I think we could really see this because I think that once one team picks a quarterback, another team's inevitably going to panic because everyone's just sitting there waiting. It's a bad quarterback draft. There's so many other positions with deep players. Everyone's just waiting for that first quarterback to go, and then as soon as that happens, other teams are going to say, well, when's the next one going to go? Do we have to go get the next one? So I'm not going to make any exact predictions, but I could easily see 2 quarterbacks going in the first round of this year's draft.
It's definitely a possibility.
Or top 10, rather, not the first round.
With those teams, I still think that Seattle and Desmond Ridder.
Oh, God. Not Desmond Ridder.
I don't know.
I don't get why he's been shooting up draft boards.
He's the third ranked quarterback now.
I'm not overly against him by any means. I don't know what they're seeing on film that makes these people say, yep, he's the next star NFL quarterback. He's
a winner. He just knows how to win.
I guess he does. You can't argue that. They went undefeated.
So to counter your hot take, mine is that no quarterbacks drafted in the first round will start this year. Because I believe that almost every one of them is a project and needs to sit for a year to not only just mature from their rawness, but to also just get caught up with the speed of the game and the competition level. Because it is definitely different, and I just don't see one of these guys being a day one starter right away.
I totally agree. You can look at all the top quarterbacks, whoever you want to call the top, Pickett, Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder. I pretty confidently would say that if any of those guys were in last year's draft, they're not a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. I think that none of those guys would eclipse the top 5 quarterbacks taken in last year's first round. So when you look at that and you look at the fact that Pickett's the most NFL ready according to scouts, and he's even a project guy himself, I totally agree. I know I just said that two will go in the top 10, but I think that's going to be more out of desperateness and panic more than anything, rather than actually being ready to play day one. So I like that one.
Teams want their quarterbacks, even if it's a project.
Yep. And then for my third and final hot pick, a little confusing here, but I'll try to make sure I say it clear and concisely. I think for the value of where they will be picked, Cincinnati cornerback Kobe Bryant will be a better pickup as a late day 2 or early day 3 pick than Amani Sauce Gardner, the other Cincinnati corner, will be as a top 10 pick. Now, I'm not saying that Kobe Bryant's going to have a much better career, a much better year than Sauce Gardner, but I think that they're going to end up being very even prospects, much more even than a lot of people think they will. So, if you look at the value of where they're picked, Sauce Gardner could come and be a very good player and still be a decent value for a top 10 pick. But I think Kobe Bryant will do just as well. And like I mentioned, he'll be a round 3, round 4, round 5 guy. So you get much better value there in Kobe Bryant rather than his Cincinnati counterpart, Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Cincinnati Bearcats had such lockdown corners.
Yep.
You know, you told me about them last week, and I was confused. I thought you were still talking about the basketball player.
Nope.
So I had to go look up some film on them, and you know, they didn't throw on Sauce Gardner very much, but they did on Kobe Bryant, and he did just as well as a lockdown corner on that other end.
Exactly. It's a very similar situation to what you'll see in Washington in this year's draft with Trent McDuffie. He was locking down guys on one side, so he barely got thrown at, which made it so Kyler Gordon, the other cornerback there in Washington, got all the practice, got lockdown ability too. So when you look at that huge difference in where they're going to be picked, a top 10 pick compared to a day 2, possibly a day 3 guy, I think you're going to get just as much value out of Kobe Bryant than you do out of Sauce Gardner.
And that very much could be, because my third and final take is that a non-first round pick will be the rookies of the year. Because this is such a deep draft class, and it's not very top heavy, it's more middle heavy. It's so deep in so many positions that I truly believe that a second, a third, even a fourth round pick will be the star of this draft and will become the rookie of the year, not only on the offensive, but the defensive side as well.
Man, I love that one. I literally almost put that myself, so it's so funny that you had that one, but I completely agree. When you look at how deep all of these positions go, I mean, not to talk crap about them, but pretty much everything other than quarterback, you're going to see so many late round steals in this year's draft, and that's because you don't have these top cream of the crop guys like you usually have in drafts where it's so obvious where you can place them in. You're going to see so many late first round guys, day 2, day 3 guys show up and be just as good as a lot of these guys who get taken in round 1. So I love that take. I totally agree. Do you mean offensive and defensive?
Yeah.
You think both sides?
I think both will be non-first round picks. I think it's more likely the first round defensive player is defense rookie of the year, but I do think that both of them will be non-first round picks.
Yep. Edge rusher, corner, and wide receiver it's a year to draft those positions, and I think a lot of late round guys are going to show up and be probably starters on some teams in the NFL, especially some of the lower tier teams.
You're going to get starting potential and starting players in the middle of this draft. Guarantee it.
Which you love to see. It's going to make the NFL a lot more competitive and a lot better overall. So that was our weekly recap video. Keep watching for it tomorrow, where we're going to put out another video about the drafts where we talk about some of our predicted booms and busts of this year's draft. So we got 2 videos for you this week, and hopefully 3 videos, if not at least 2 videos next week with Cal and I's final mock draft, and then possibly a weekly update video, if we get any news. There's a small chance there's literally no news this week, so it might just be
in the week before the draft.
But exactly, it's going to be an exciting week because you're going to get both of our mock drafts, and we're only going to be like 7 days away from the draft, so you can't complain about that at all. So thank you all so much for watching this episode. Don't forget to tune in again tomorrow and next week. But until then, don't forget
to eat the W.